There's really no way around it. Saturday's loss to Oregon hurts. You erase 3 minutes of that ball game and the Cougs are undefeated with a pair of wins over top 25 teams. But that's not reality. Reality is it's time to move on.
Adversity reveals what your culture really is, right? So we have a bunch of guys that are focused. They flushed it this morning. They're ready to move on, and that's the best part about football. By the time we meet on it, 6 days later, you play another game. Okay, so that's the opportunity that we have in front of us, and that's the focus that we have going into the week.
This week, the Cal Golden Bears come into town. Similar to WSU, Cal is off to a hot start, sitting at 3-1. The Bears have done so by running the football over 175 yards on the ground per game.
Stopping the run defensively is where it always starts with Cal, and I think that's what they want to do, and that's what they want to establish, and we need to get them behind the chains. Okay, and then always vice versa. It's big offense to momentum and flow and tempo to stay ahead, right, on first down. So first down will be a big component to this game, and obviously at the line of scrimmage will be a big part of that.
A bright spot in this past weekend's loss was WSU's offense seemed to find its stride, something the Cougs can lean on going forward.
They're playing the way we always felt that they're capable of playing. I think sometimes that takes a little time, and I said it through the first couple games, you know who you are. You definitely know who you are through the first 4 games, right? So we're trying always to play to our guys' strengths, and I think that's what our offensive staff and Coach Morris has done a good job of finding ways to get our playmakers the ball in space through unique and different ways.
Washington State versus Cal will kick off at 2:30 this Saturday. One final home game for the Cougs before they hit the road for the following 2. Reporting in Pullman, Travis Green, KREM 2 Sports.
I just want to open up with a statement. First off, I appreciate the work and how hard it is to officiate college football. Okay, I think this is a complicated game, played at warp speed, and I think anytime that happens, mistakes can occur. I think those mistakes have been acknowledged. This situation in the game, it affected the game, but it didn't determine the outcome of the game. Okay, and I think that's an important distinction. Oregon won the game. We don't accept any excuses. I believe that makes you a weaker competitor, right? So we acknowledge that. I do hope the NCAA looks at the rule, right, to potentially have the ability to go back to play second down, right, because it does affect how we sequence that. But, based on the protocol, that was the down that we were afforded. We have expressed all of our concerns to the league office, okay, and we have confidence that the league office will address these issues, and I just have no further comment about it, and we're moving on.
From a football standpoint, and just in looking at the tape from Oregon, 1 or 2 things that maybe stood out to you that you didn't see on the field at the time, but as you look on tape, say, wow, that was good, or wow, we need to correct that?
Well, I think sometimes as a coach, you always lean to what you can correct, but I started this morning talking to the team about a lot of the good things that we did. I felt like we were explosive on offense, and we did keep them off balance. I thought we won space, just like we talked about, and I think we were really efficient in the red zone. I believe 4 out of 5. So I think there was a lot of positives. I think there's some times when we can sustain blocks a little bit better and finish, and those are some things our guys see that we need to get better on offense, and you have to be able to run the ball, right, to be balanced. Defensively, positives. Obviously, the touchdown. Obviously, 3 straight red zone stands made that game feel a lot better, kept us in it. There's a lot of, momentum there. We got a 3 and out off of a sudden change in a critical situation. But vice versa, you're not going to win a game not stopping the run, okay, and giving up that many explosive plays. I think there's communication issues that we had to address, and I think we did, and I think they're all fixable and correctable, and, we'll learn from that. I thought special teams played a very solid game. So, like I said, we've addressed them this morning. We've looked at it. We flushed it, and we're on to Cal.
Christian may have had something a little more important pop up this past week. I think that's fair to say. Yeah. Do you think he'll be back for this week, or is he still on daddy duty for the first week?
Christian was at our morning meeting this morning, and we're really excited for him. But he will be back. He had that look in his eyes of a new father. I've been there, right? So just excited for Christian and his family.
When did he let you know that his wife was going into labor?
Yeah, Saturday morning. You get that early text at 5:15. Coach Callaghan's called me, and we're excited for him, and that's absolutely 100% where he needed to be.
How effective has the rushing defense been in your eyes? Have you been pleased with how effective they've been?
Well, I mean, it's what have you done for me lately sometimes in this world, right? So there's some things that we needed to get corrected off of last week's tape, but I think overall it's been a strength of our defense, and that needs to continue to be that way. This is how it's built, right? You got to cut the head off a snake, right? And I think that's an important distinction, and we saw some things that Oregon did a good job of taking advantage of that we need to correct and be better in the moment. And, I think, our team and our coaches will have the ability to do that.
And with the DB play, was it miscommunications with a little bit more experience there, or was it those younger guys getting caught on one-on-one?
It's a combination of a bunch of different things. Like, I'm not going to say it's one thing. I mean, explosive passes, right? You look at pass rush, you look at linebacker playing depth, you look like DB execution, and it was all the above. And those are things that I told you after the game that I take responsibility for. So I think we did a good job correcting those issues, and we're ready to move forward.
Early thoughts on Cal, just overall offense?
I think they're a much improved football team, just in general. I think the quarterback, obviously the transfer Plummer, I think he's really solid. I think he's got really good escapability, and I think he's good as a pocket passer. And I think their tailback is going to be a budding star in this league, just as a freshman. And even his role has really grown over the first four games. So they've been running the ball extremely efficiently, and when you do that, you're allowed to take the ball down the field off play action pass. They have a million formations, rules, shifts, adjustments, that they've been doing for a long time in that style of offense. So a little more physicality, a little more balance 50-50, and a little more come downhill at you. So a much improved football team, and like I said, that's this league though this year. Cal's 3-1, right? And we might have the toughest schedule in the Pac-12, right? And we're just excited about attacking this opportunity.
Earlier in the week, Francisco spoke to how his eye for the ball was one of the parts of his game that he thought had improved the most, and that certainly showed up on Saturday with his pivotal pick six. What have you seen from him and his development?
Well, it's been fun because just being a part of Francisco's recruitment, obviously out of America Samoa has been amazing. Like, I used to watch him on Huddle, and he was that big on the film. And to get him here, and obviously his brother played here, it's a pretty big family legacy here, and to see his growth. He got out there a little bit sparingly as a true freshman, and we knew that experience would help him be ready for the next 3 years. And I think that's what he's cashing in on, and he's playing confident, and we've always known how physical he is and how much he loves to play. Francisco loves this game, and it's fun to watch how he prepares.
Awesome. After the game, despite the loss, the majority of the team and you came over to the KREM Zone and sang the fight song with the band and the students. What factored into that decision, despite the loss, to do that?
I mean, since I've been here, it's been a tradition either way. I mean, I think we respect our university. We're proud to represent it. And sometimes when things don't go your way, you swallow a little pride and you still do what's right, right? That's called discipline. So we're proud to represent Washington State, and that's part of it.
Awesome. And with Cal, you've got a lot of prolific offensive players, particularly Jaden Ott. What have you seen from Ott on tape, and what are you looking to do on Saturday?
Like I said, I think he's been explosive. I think he took a couple big runs to the house last week that just show what he's really capable of doing. And sometimes Cal still has those big bruising backs, and he's a change of pace. I mean, he can get on a linebacker matched out in space, in the pass game, take you up top. There's a lot of things that he creates mismatches for, and they're doing a really good job of using him in many ways. So, and he's just a freshman, so he's just getting started in his journey. So they definitely have a good one.
Yeah, so how do you tell your team and keep them level-headed throughout this whole process, the ups and the downs? How do you make sure that they're level-headed?
You don't change your message, right? And I think that's important, whether it's coming off a big win, whether it's coming off a loss where you feel like you didn't finish the game the way we're capable of finishing. Like, you stay consistent, right? Consistency compounds, and those messages have impact over time. And like I said, adversity reveals what your culture really is, right? So we have a bunch of guys that are focused. They flushed it this morning. They're ready to move on, and that's the best part about football. By the time we meet on it, 6 days later, you play another game. Okay, so that's the opportunity that we have in front of us, and that's the focus that we have going into the week.
And you spoke about some thinness within the secondary. How do you help them and bolster your defense to not give up such chunk plays against Cal?
Well, like that, I think it's a different style of pass game, so there are going to be a little bit more one-on-ones in what they do. I mean, I think you got to be able to, get the extra hat in the box, which does sell out your secondary at times. So, we just got to pick and choose our spots to be aggressive, but we got to execute. And like I said, big explosive pass plays, the DBs get the attention, but it's a it's an every level deal. And like I said, I take responsibility for that, and we're excited about getting back out there and getting it changed.
I think Cam scrambled a lot more in this last game. Is this something that you and the coaching staff are encouraging him to do?
I think that's Cam. Right? That's just him as a playmaker, being out there. I think Cam is one of the best pocket presence that I've been around. He's probably had to scramble more than we would like, but he's also been very productive doing it. And I've always said that when you watch Brett Favre, he took some of the good with the bad. And Cam, I said it has some magic with what he does, moving around the pocket. So he's created a lot of great explosive plays, and I think that's part of his game and what makes him so exciting.
Coach, we talked about it a little bit after the game, and you just hit on a little bit with Cam, but the offense seems like every week it seems to be progressing, and I know this is the first season under this offense. Just, do you feel like the offense is finally clicking at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, they're playing the way we always felt that they're capable of playing. I think sometimes that takes a little time. And, I said it through the first couple games, you know who you are. You definitely know who you are through the first 4 games, right? So we're trying always to play to our guys' strengths. And I think that's what our offensive staff and Coach Morris has done a good job of finding ways to get our playmakers the ball in space through unique and different ways. And I think you saw that. We went 3 for 3 in trick plays. We saw a little bit of screen game. Renard has been unbelievable when he touches the ball, right? So we got to find a way in more ways to continue to have him touch it. I think Rob has given us another dimension to the offense that's taken us, continued in that growth, right? The tight ends are getting better each week, and Andre's been out there a little bit more. So I think it's a culmination of a lot of things, and guys finally understanding how they need to play, the strain that it takes to win big football games, and no one's a freshman anymore. So I think all that stuff is important.
Coach, when you look at this Cal matchup, I was just talking to Bobby over here. It's crazy, the stats. You guys have averaged the same points per game and given up the same points per game. Is there one specific, part of this game that you think will be a key spot for you guys to win, maybe in the trenches or running, any specific spot?
Well, I have a lot of respect for their defense. It's one of those things, because we're similar, we scout them a lot and use them in a lot of crossover tape. I mean, they're very physical up front. They're being a little bit more multiple this season, kind of what they're doing in their pressure packages. But, stopping the run defensively is where it always starts with Cal. And I think that's what they want to do, and that's what they want to establish. And we need to get them behind the chains. Okay, and then always vice versa. It's big offense to momentum and flow and tempo to stay ahead, right, on first down. So first down will be a big component to this game, and obviously at the line of scrimmage will be a big part of that.
Coach Travis was just asking about the offense taking strides every week. In your eyes, is the next step to kind of get the passing game a little more vertical? We haven't seen a ton of that yet.
I think so, but I think once again, that's easy to say, and there's a bunch of components that come into that, right? From protection to routes to reads, and it just hasn't gotten to that point yet. And I think we've identified that. We did a lot better job in our quick game on Saturday, and I think our RPO game has been solid really throughout the first 4 games. So we've been good vertical passing off of tempo, but I think more when we're not in that tempo, we got to be able to buy time and take the ball down the field and pick and choose our spots. So it's something that we're continually talking about, and it's part of this offense. It's been part of the air raid for a long time. So, we're getting there, and I think that's an area we can improve on.
Just to confirm, Smithson and Jenkins will pass the redshirt mark on Saturday, I assume.
Absolutely. I mean, those guys, their roles continue to grow, and they keep getting touches, and they're doing a good job.
On that kind of same topic, what's the plan right now with Andre? Is it to kind of get him past that 4, or is it to maybe evaluate once he hits 4?
No, I think Andre will be good to go all the way through. And I said, just like Francisco, I said, that sets you up for 3 years of playing a ton of football, right? And I think that's important. And anytime you can be a 3-year starter at this level, I mean, great things are in your future, and I think that'll be the plan for Andre.
Jordan Lee, any idea yet, or is that?
Jordan was a game time decision. He was out there in warm-ups, and we tried to press it to see where we could get to, and we just couldn't get there yet. So we're still very hopeful that he's on his progression, and we're hopeful that he can return this week.
Yeah. So we touched on Jaden Ott a few times. He's averaging 115 per game, 115 yards per game. What specifically are you planning on to try to stop him?
Well, I think the biggest thing is one guy just can't tackle him, right? We got to make sure that we're keeping him bottled up and And because of that, I mean, I think he's like 8 yards per carry, so I think he's hitting the big play, right? So he has the ability not just to make people miss, but take it the distance when he breaks out. So you group tackle guys like that, you got to be really sound in your fit. And I know the running back gets a lot of credit, but I think that O-line's doing a tremendous job of creating space, right? So at the line of scrimmage, we got to be able to make sure where we're supposed to be, and we're being more physical, right? So I think that'll be a big emphasis this week on our interior defensive line.
And I believe Cal's one loss is against Notre Dame, which was a close game. What do you speak on the resiliency throughout their whole season?
I meant what I said. I think Cal is a much improved team, but this is a good league top to bottom, right? And I think that's an important distinction of whatever perception is out there. I mean, this is a great league, and you got to bring your A game each and every week. And I think, like I said, there's no chalk up wins in this league, right? So you got to make sure that you're ready to go and you're ready to be prepared. And Cal has proven that. Hopefully we have proven that. There's other schools in our league that have proven that we're here to play. And, I think the Pac-12 was really strong top to bottom. So we're excited to see how this plays out. And Cal and we're both in that same boat of really wanting to win. And this will be a big Pac-12 football game on Saturday.
What progress have you seen from your offensive line over the past month? Obviously, a lot of tough defensive fronts that you've faced, but what have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of grit. I think those guys care about their performance. I think they care about what they're doing, and now we just need to continue to rely on technique, right? Especially when things get hard or people get tired. But I love where they're at. I love how they're responding to it. I love how they're putting in the time and the work, and we need to continue to get better. And to everybody's point, it isn't just how you improve through weeks 1 through 4, right? We need to keep getting better each and every week, and that's as players, that's as coaches, that's as units, that's as a team, right? That's a sign of a good team, right? They're not full, they're hungry, they're starving, right? And our team is really excited to keep getting better and get back out there and hopefully play our best this weekend.
We have much more sports content available for you to watch right now on KREM 2+. To find it, just navigate to the Sports tab at the top of your screen. I'm Travis Green. Thanks for watching.